So one of the things we will need to do on a server or any computer system for that matter fairly regularly is monitoring system performance. Now, in a core install, we do have a limited access to Task Manager. So if I send Control-Alt-Delete to my virtual machine here and go down to Task Manager, you'll see I have some limited performance information. If I click over here on performance, we'll have our normal CPU, memory, Ethernet. So I've got some of that performance information available in Task Manager. But there's more information that I can pull from PowerShell using my performance counters. Now, in a GUI environment, we have the performance monitor, and we've got tons and tons of counters in performance monitor that we can pull and we can view that data. Well, we can do the same thing in PowerShell, and we do it using the command get help. So I'm going to do or not get help, get counter. There we go. So I'm going to do a quick get help on get counter. I'm going to pipe that to more. Pipe that to more. And we'll see get counter gets performance counter data from local and remote computers. And this is actually really cool because we do the get counter and we specify the counter that we want. And we can specify right here the computer name, and we can go get it from somewhere else. Maximum samples, sample interval, continuous. So there's lots of ways we can do things, or we can get information. Now, get counter also has a list set, and that's how we'll go about discovering the counters that are available to us. So let me do get counter and then a dash list set. And then I'm going to do an asterisk to list all of my sets of counter information, and then I'm going to pipe that to more because that might take a while. And so here we'll see all of our sets, and we have the counter set name. The machine name is always going to be, because I'm doing this on the local machine, will just be period. The counter set type tells us whether it's going to be a single instance or a multiple instance. Here's a multi-instance counter set. And that's going to come into play when we start looking into them a little bit more in a little more detail. The description right here is going to tell us what this counter set is about. So this is the WS-Man quota statistics. It displays quota usage and violation information for the WS management process. The paths is where we're going to find the actual data. And then the paths with instances, that comes into play more when you're dealing with multiple instances. But you can have a path that actually doesn't have an instance in there. So paths with instances is going to be a little bit better for you to work with, although honestly you can work with paths most of the time. And then here are the actual counters in that set. And as we hit our spacebar and we go down through this, you're going to see we have a bunch of counter sets. In fact, let's just shorten this. Let's do get counter list set asterisk, and I'm going to pipe that to select object, and I just want to see the counter set name. And this is going to be all of my different counter sets that I can access. Now, the ones you have available are going to vary a little bit based on the features and the roles that you have installed on your system. So if you have DHCP server, you're going to have DHCP counters. If you don't have that, you're not going to have those counters. So that's pretty straightforward. Now, the counters in the performance monitor allow us to go very, very detailed in what we want to look at. The basic things that are going to impact system performance the most are going to be your processor, your memory, your network, and your hard drives. Those are going to be the four overall the most commonly used things that we'll look at because those will impact everything running on the system. Now you can do you can dive deeper in and look at specific roles or features or functions on the server and look at how they're impacting performance as well. But we normally start by looking at the big picture. So let's dive into these a little bit more. We have a counter set here for memory. So I'm going to do get counter list, dash list set, there we go, memory. And that's going to give me information about that single one. Now memory is going to be a single instance counter, gives us a description, and then these are all the paths that are available. And those paths are going to be where our counters are at. Now you'll notice paths with instances, we don't have any of them. And that's fine because it's a single instance set. As opposed to, and what we mean by that is there's only one block of memory. So if you have a processor with multiple cores or multiple processors, you'll have multiple instances. You'll have, if you've got a 4-core processor, you'll have processor time for processor 0, 1, 2, 3. And that's going to be your 4 different cores. So you can look at your processor time based on individual cores or on processor as a whole. But memory, we only have one block of memory. So we've got that as a single instance set. If I look at my processor, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Get counter list set processor. You'll see that we have, it's a multi-instance. And right here you're going to see our paths. Processor 0 time, processor 1% processor time, processor total percent processor time. Now this right here, that means there's way more to this than we're actually seeing. And we can explore that. So here's how we would do that. Let's do get counter. And now I'm going to put these in single quotes. I technically don't need to for this one. Memory backslash asterisk. Backslash memory backslash asterisk. So I technically don't need to for this one, but for most of the rest I'm going to. So I'm just going to do that. So what I'm looking at here is this path. So I want to get the counter for everything under the slash memory slash. And so let me go ahead and I'll hit enter on that. And that's going to get all of my memory counters. And you'll see they all went by fairly quickly. So I'm going to pipe that to more. And that's going to break it up page by page. And so now I can look at my individual memory counters. So it's going to start out with backslash 2019 core. That's my sample server here. Backslash memory backslash page faults per second. And that's going to give me how many page faults per second that I have. All right. So that's really useful. Here's another one. This is going to be my available bytes of memory. Now, if I want to look at just one, I can do that using the get counter, and then I'm just going to put in the path for the information that I want. So this will be backslash memory backslash available space bytes. Now, because I have a space in there, I have to put this inside my text qualifier, and that's why I said most of the time we're going to need to do that. So let's just get in the habit of doing it from the outset, and it'll simplify our life. And that'll give me the timestamp that I pulled this, and then the counter samples is going to be my path and then the value. Now, in another video, we're going to look at doing some more things with that value and trying to format that a little bit better. But for the moment, let's take a look at our processor as well. So we've seen how we can find something in memory. And by the way, this works for all of them. So the same things we just talked about. Get counter list set will show us everything in there. We can do get counter backslash the core path, and it'll show us everything that's in there. Let's take a look at how that works with the processor, because this is going to be a little bit different because the processor is multi-set. So we're going to do get counter list set processor. And that's going to give us our processor information. And remember, this is a multi-instance. So if I want to explore this, I need to take that into account. So before we dive into that, though, I said that these little dots here indicate that there's way more. And one of the things we just did is we said, just show me everything. And that was what we did with the memory get counter memory slash asterisk says show me everything. Another way we can discover these without looking at all the data is this: get counter, and then I want to do list set processor, and this time I'm going to pipe that to select object and paths. Now this actually isn't going to do exactly what I want because it's going to show me just those paths. But to see everything, what I would do is I would change it to select object, expand property paths, and that's going to show me all of my paths. Now, these are the generic ones. So processor asterisk right here means it's generic, it's not specific. If I wanted to see all of them specifically, it would be get paths with instances. And that's going to show me here all of them by instance. And so you'll see right here, well, let's look at this one right here. Processor 0% idle time, processor 1% idle time, processor total percent idle time. And you'll see that replicated for all of these. So if I wanted to get counters, let's say I wanted all of my total processor counters, it would be this. It would be get counter, and then I'm going to put in my path, and it's going to be processor in parentheses underscore total. Now, if I don't have this in this single or in this quotes as my text qualifier, it's actually going to break on me here because it's not going to handle that correctly. But I want to see all of it, and let's go ahead and pipe that to more. And here are going to be my counter samples. So my percent processor time is incredibly low, user time low, privilege time low, total interrupts. All right, and now we can see all of our statistics for our processor. Now this is how you will go through and you will discover the counters. Now we just did it for processor and memory, but you can go through and do the same thing for every type of counter. So if you want to see disk information, let's do get counter list set asterisk disk asterisk. So show me everything with disks. And I'm going to have to pipe that through more real quick. Actually, let me just do select object counter set name. And there we have 4 different counter sets that relate to disks. And so this is how the process you'll go through to discover the counters that you want to monitor using PowerShell on your system.